Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's Training Industry Learning Tech Showcase, Simulations, AR, and VR, sponsored by CGS Immersive, Facilitate, Interplay Learning, and SweetRush. I'm a Revote Events Manager here at Training Industry, and I'm thrilled to have you here with us today. Before we get started, I would like to quickly go over just a few housekeeping items to help you interact with our speakers and get the most out of today's program. Throughout today's event, please feel free to use the chat for comments and submit questions in the Q&A panel. All questions will be addressed during the event or at the end of the program during our Q&A section. At the end of the event, you'll notice a short survey has popped open in your browser, and we'd appreciate your thoughts on today's event. And as always, all of our sessions are being recorded and will be archived on trainingindustry.com, and you will receive a follow-up email from us with a link to the on-demand sessions. If this is your first Training Industry event, we'd like to send a special welcome to you. Training Industry exists to make connections among learning and development professionals. We offer tons of resources to support your role in L&D through live events like today's Learning Tech Showcase, as well as through articles on our website, our magazine, conferences, research reports, and our podcast. Visit trainingindustry.com to learn more. And now, without further ado, it is my pleasure to introduce you to our speakers, Philip Saylor and Ben Bauert. Philip is a registered psychologist and chief experience officer at Facilitate. He has a background in organizational psychology, psychometrics, and human factors. He is passionate about learning and technology to create powerful learning experiences that allow people to grow. Ben is a visionary entrepreneur and education technology pioneer who is revolutionizing corporate training through immersive technologies. As the founder and CEO of Facilitate, he leads a company that empowers organizations to create and deliver scalable, engaging, and effective training experiences through digital experiential learning. Philip and Ben, we are very excited to have you here today. And with that, I'm going to hand it over to you.
Awesome.
Thank you for that.
Thanks, Avery. Just share my screen.
Sure. Cool. Looks good.
Awesome.
Yeah, hi everyone. Thank you very much for being with us today. As Avery mentioned, my name is Ben Bauert, founder and CEO at Facilitate. And with us is Philip Saylor, our Chief Experience Officer. We're dialing from all the way over in Australia. So yeah, today we'll be talking to you about creating XR training without coding, and how our Facilitate platform is making immersive learning accessible to all organizations. So yeah, with that, Philip, if you don't mind going to the next slide. Thanks. Cool. So I guess to start off with, the 10,000-foot view of Facilitate is that it's a fully no-code platform for learning designers and training professionals to create their own immersive interactive training content. That content is typically consumed by immersive headsets, such as VR headsets, but not always. We have a desktop application and browser link access as well for the types of content that you create on our platform. We really created Facilitate to lower the barrier to entry to democratize who can become a creator of VR training. So we work with organizations across the world and in a variety of sectors, but predominantly in location and asset heavy industries such as mining, energy, logistics, healthcare, manufacturing, and then vocational training at the intersection of those areas. So yeah, next slide. Thanks, Philip. Yeah, so we really wanted to start today by, I guess, it is the fourth presentation on VR training you're listening to today. So, oh, here we go. We've just got the poll that's come through. Yeah, so if you don't mind, just answer which industry you're from. We're really keen to understand, what all your backgrounds are, and we can help tailor the content in that regard. So we'll just give that a few seconds. But anyway, I'll keep going as we're limited with time today. So we know it's the fourth presentation that you're hearing on VR training. So we won't go into too much detail, and you're probably on this webinar because you realize there are limitations with existing workplace training methods. So we just want to touch over briefly to help contextualize our view on the I guess the training landscape. So obviously over the past decade or so, and with the restrictions that came in place during the pandemic, e-learning really became the mainstay of workplace training. organizations either quickly introduced e-learning or went all in on massive content libraries. But unfortunately, with this saturation of online training also came the strong realization of e-learning's limitations, particularly the lack of realistic opportunities for practical skills development and often a lack of engagement for trainees. You know, we all know that the stereotype of the learner clicking next as fast as humanly possible during an e-learning module, but you know, unfortunately, sometimes there is a bit of truth to that. And then for in-person training, it can often provide highly relevant opportunities for real-world experience, particularly in on-the-job training. However, you know, we've heard time and again our customers complain about the cost of live facilitation, also you know, often leading to a lack of scalability of these programs, and especially for businesses with remote locations or remote trainees. But also we hear issues regarding a lack of standardization across different trainers or training instances as well. So next slide. Thanks, Philip. So yeah, as we start thinking about immersive training, it can solve many of these issues. The technology has the ability to take people into a highly standardized training experience that's been created to represent the best practice training in an organization. You know, from a cognitive perspective, your trainees are completely focused on the content with their eyes and ears only experiencing the stimuli that the training is providing them. You know, VR learners, they can have hands-on experiences of procedural training and practice their skills in completely risk-free ways on demand. You know, this can boost their confidence and increase their familiarity with procedural training. You know, additionally, using 360-degree media, such as you're seeing here, they can be transported to any workplace setting to experience things such as site inductions, hazard identification training, technical procedural training, safety procedures. And this can be delivered on tap in a highly standardized way and scalable across all locations. However, one thing we've come to realize over the past 9 years is that there are limitations to VR training content that need to be addressed for organizations to be able to scale this technology across their training programs and to really be able to take it seriously as a core part of their learning and training stack. Yeah, so next slide. Thanks, Philip. So yeah, with that, I wanted to help contextualize the VR training content options that are actually available to you. So the way that we view it, that really there are 3 different ways that organizations can get access to VR training content. So the first is via software developers. They can provide you training really to meet any need that you like. It'll typically be very, very high quality, but it does come with a heavy price tag. Typically, not always, but you know, a single module can start at $100,000 plus. It can take up to 6 months or more to actually create a module. And then if you ever need to edit that module because things on site or procedures change, you always need to go back to the software developer and incur more costs and more time. So it's not a scalable option for any organization, really. There's also off-the-shelf training content, and there are examples of fantastic content out there. You know, for areas that tackle generic types of training, such as manual handling, off-the-shelf content is phenomenal. And then there are examples within soft skills learning as well, where there are providers that can create modules, and there are elements that you can actually customize to your organization's needs, which again, we would highly recommend. But off-the-shelf content really does have limitations when it's critical to a training outcome to have the specificity around your sites, your procedures, and your risks in place in that content. And this is really where self-authoring as an option comes into play. And you know, we believe it can provide an opportunity for contextualized, cost-effective, and scalable content creation. So with that, I'll pass over to Philip to go into a little bit around our ethos as a business and yeah, and how we operate.
Yeah, fantastic. Thanks, Ben. Hi, guys. Great to be with you today. So look, I'll jump in now, and I'll take over with this concept called digital experiential training. So before I dive right in, I will mention we have an ebook on digital experiential training that may be of interest to you. So just head over to our website after this, and you'll be able to download that for free. We go into a little bit more detail there, but I'll just cover the basics here. There are 4 key pillars to digital experiential training as we see it, and these really are they are the pillars of that underpin this concept. So the first one on the left there is about better utilizing your existing learning designers. So with a lot of this new technology, there can be a new need for new skill sets. But what our approach really highlights is the ability that if you use a platform like Facilitate that is no code, that is simple enough for learning designers to use, then you can utilize that asset without having to outsource the content creation process. The second one is about future-proofing the training content. So what we mean by this is Facilitate and the content that you create in it is available for use on a computer, but also on a VR headset. So all the benefits obviously come from putting on a headset that Ben alluded to, but we realize that it's not realistic for every organization to jump straight in at that end. So by future-proofing, what we mean is we have the ability to create content and use it on a computer to begin with, and then as the organization grows, you can start adding headsets and going to the full immersive step without having to recreate that content. So it's compatible across both of those platforms. The third one, this is the experiential part of it. So e-learning is highly scalable and digital, but it's not experiential. It's not really an experience clicking the next button and interacting with something on a computer screen, whereas putting on a headset and going into that world and being completely immersed, as I'm sure by the end of today you know the power of that's content that really does inspire and deliver greater learning outcomes, better retention, all those things that I'm sure you've heard of quite a few times today. And then the last one is the ability to use the experience that is with your SME. So we've all got them in our organizations, been there 15, 20 years, wealth of experience. But what we want to do is we want to try and capture that out from sort of, between the ears and digitize and make it available in a powerful way. An experiential way for the young starters that are coming through. So our platform is simple enough to use that subject matter experts can start creating content, or at least very least be part of the content creation journey as well. So that's what we see as the future for workplace training. Is it's digital, therefore it's scalable, and it's experiential, and therefore it's powerful and impactful. So that negates those 2 main challenges that we know very well with in-person and e-learning. So I'm just going to take us through a quick example of how this looks like in practice. So the organisation here is Northern Star Mining Services. So they are an underground gold miner. They are active in Australia and in the US. And their use case was for underground mine induction. So it's a very high risk and unique environment. It's not for everyone, being kilometers underground, in a dark sort of claustrophobic space. So they needed a better way to conduct inductions for new people. So people that were new, not only to their organization, but often to underground mining. So they had done this before with in-person tours, but they are, as we know, very costly and time consuming. And they also have an e-learn, which new starters would do. But again, people were not getting the essence of what it was like to be in that place. So what they did is they utilized Facilitate. They empowered their in-house creating team. So it wasn't inside L&D, it actually sat within operations. So that's what I was alluding to earlier about subject matter experts being able to create the content. And they did a series of tours based on 360-degree imagery. And they focused on hazards in their case because it's a very hazardous environment, and that's generally what's of most important. But they also featured narration from a subject matter expert, which took them through the various areas of the mines and explained different areas to the new starters. And essentially that allowed create for a very powerful experience for someone who's never been in that setting when you put that headset on and you are fully immersed in that environment. So essentially the results they were able to achieve is they were fully able to replace their in-person tours, saving thousands of hours of instructor time essentially, and they were able to improve the scalability across multiple sites. So it made the training not only better, but it made it more accessible. Because it didn't require someone to be taken offline and, certain area to be, semi shut down and made safe for people to wander through and have a look. So it made it a lot more accessible. And in the future, they're looking to duplicate this across other sites that they've got. Great. So let's jump on to the creation process. So this might be a little bit different from some of the stuff you've heard today, whereas you and your organization will be looking at creating the content, as we've said. So it's fairly straightforward. I'll just talk to these very briefly, but the essence is that you're identifying your use case. And again, this is something we can assist with as well. So you're starting with the most valuable one. Capturing the base asset. So what this refers to is the two main modalities that are currently available in virtual reality are 360-degree image-based experiences. And I will show an example. I'll play a video in a moment just to see this. But you've probably all seen this with the 360 videos, like the virtual tours. The other format is the computer-generated imagery. So this is your metaverse and your games and stuff, where essentially everything's built out of computer-generated imagery. So in Facilitate, the way it would work is you would capture those 360 images or obtain the 3D models that you want the learner to interact with, and you upload them to the Facilitate platform. Once it's there, you then use the tools to create a learning experience out of it. So you take a series of simple images, you add questions, hotspots, two-dimensional videos, narration, choice points, whatever it is that's going to make the experience powerful. And you connect those scenes together, and then you have an experience, a learning experience built out of the base assets. Same with the three-dimensional models. You add interactions, labels, different steps. Take this off, then take that off, so forth. Whatever the procedure is, and you create a learning experience out of that base asset. And then lastly, publish it. So lots of options with Facilitate. You can distribute it via your LMS using SCORM, browser link, or you can send it straight to a headset, or as we alluded to, you can also consume it on a computer as well, on a desktop application. Cool. So just moving on to us now a little bit and what solutions we offer with Facilitate. So those two main modalities are the ones I talk to. So the top one is the 360 media-based one. So this is good for those use cases that I went through. So the site onboarding in particular and hazard identification, anything to do with situational awareness where people need to be put into a context and they can look around and interact with things, as well as equipment training to a certain extent. So you can do procedural training in 360 where you have a subject matter expert showing some procedure and you're watching on literally from the sidelines. The next one is we call them micro simulations. So these are small simulations based on 1 or 2 3-dimensional models, and they're more for exploring equipment, familiarization with equipment. But the big one is procedural learning. So a lot of our customers will use this for certain procedures, taking something apart, putting it back together, and so forth. And essentially, you upload the 3-dimensional model, and then, as I said, you add those interactive elements. Cool. And then the last one there I want to highlight is that everything in Facilitate can be consumed synchronously and asynchronously. So you can come together into a virtual classroom. People can join from anywhere in the world, and you can consume that content, in a synchronous manner. Or it can be e-learning style in the sense that they go in there by themselves and they have a next and a previous, and they work through the content in their own time. Now, just to pull us apart a little bit, there are other self-authoring platforms out there, certainly. But what sets Facilitate apart in particular are these 3 things. So the ease of the creation tools. So it might, in a lot of tech, there's always ease of use is highlighted, but it is a really important factor. And the example I get of that I gave of that customer, Northern Star, really illustrates that. So they didn't have to use learning design people to even create the content. It was that straightforward that they could keep it within their operations team to do. So our tool is certainly fit for that. It's not designed for developers in any way. It's designed for everyone to use. It's like the Canva of virtual learning. Market-leading flexibility, pardon me. So this refers to the two content types that I said. So a lot of self-authoring platforms will do one or the other. So they'll do 360 media-based, or they'll do simulations of some description. So in Facilitate, you can do both of those, and you can mesh them together into one experience. So you might start in 360-degree imagery, which is visually very realistic, and then you might transition from that straight into a hands-on micro-simulation where you're taking something apart. And the last one is the affordability. So you'll see, again, pricing is on our website, but you'll see it's very affordable, subscription-based pricing with lots of options to scale all the way up to enterprise, unlimited, but starting small enough for smaller organizations to jump on board. Great. So I'll jump into the video. Any questions we need to address? How are we going questions-wise, guys?
I've been trying to rapid fire type as you're speaking.
Okay. Anything I need to speak to, or I jump into the video?
So there's a question: is Facilitate cloud-based?
Yep. Yeah, good question. Yeah, it is. Yep. So all our data sits on Microsoft Azure. So either US, Australia, or UK based. Yep. So it is cloud-based. Anything else?
Are you able to load completion records, etc., into our own LMS?
Yep, absolutely. So with the SCORM, you can export it to SCORM. It is a SCORM wrapper, so it links out from the SCORM because the virtual reality content can't run on your LMS. However, all the data is sent back through. The authentication is via your LMS, and then who completed which module and how many questions they got right or whatever you put in there, that's all sent back to your LMS under that learner's record. So yeah, from a learning experience point of view as well, it's quite seamless. Okay. All right, I might jump onto the video next and we can pick up a few more questions later. So this just gives you a little bit of a visual. So there's the creator. It's a very simple drag and drop functionality. So these are the 3D model-based ones that I mentioned. This is the experience creator where, as I mentioned, you can combine the micro simulations as well as the 360-degree image-based content together. Yep. So there's the offline mode. Once the content's downloaded to the headset, you can run it without internet access. And there's some of those virtual training environments that I was talking about. Yeah, and there's XAPI integration. Fantastic. Oh no, we won't do that again. So let me jump on to the next slide. So really just to finish off now, just to conclude how we can engage with us. One of the ways a lot of our customers engage with us is through the starter pack. You can see there's the pricing. And now this really includes everything you need to get started. So there's a couple of headsets, whatever ones of your choice that you want. A 360 camera and tripod, three-dimensional model if you want to do one of those micro simulations, 1 year's worth of access. And the most important part of it is an upskilling training package. And what essentially we do there is we work with whoever in your organization will be moving this forward, usually it's the L&D team. And we essentially get them from starting point through to a first piece of content ready to roll out internally. So a proof of concept, whether that be one of these micro simulations or a 360 site tour or a combination of those. So at the end of that training, you'll not only be able to do it moving forward, but you'll have a piece of content to showcase as well. And then that's it. You're off and running on your own. So that's really all we had for you today. Ben, anything you want to add? Any more questions we should pick up? Or
just scroll back here. They've been coming out rapid fire.
Okay.
So yeah, what kind of support do we offer in terms of content creation and software use, since this is mainly for in-house development?
So yeah, well, this starter pack would certainly be one of those. So that would be probably the best way to tackle it, and what most of our customers do. So that's all condensed into. It doesn't have to be 3 months. It can be shorter or longer, depending on how much what the timeline is of your organization. So that one's wrapped up, and everything there. You'll have everything you need moving forward. The other alternative is we work with a series of content partners as well. So they already know how to use the Facilitate platform, and then can support you to create content for you as well. So that's something you can engage with us about as well.
Mm-hmm.
So they're probably the main options there, aren't they?
Yep. So another question from Carla. So they're moving to a digital platform for their procedures, which their technicians access via an iPad. As a result,
Yep.
They have videos created for each procedure broken out by steps, but it is all tell, no try, etc. Would they be able to leverage our existing videos to build out simulations? So, yeah, I mean, the answer is it depends. If it's any 360 content, certainly you'd be able to do that within our platform and add in the interactive elements that Philip was talking about, hotspots. Yeah.
Certainly, yeah. I mean, if they're two-dimensional videos, like just sort of 16:9 videos, you can incorporate them inside the 360 content, as you may have seen before. Yeah, but essentially would require those base assets, so the three-dimensional model, if it were to be hands-on, or a 360 image. But they are very easy to get, those base assets. Just not complicated to do. The cameras are as easy to use as a GoPro now. You stick them on a tripod and you press record. So it's all very straightforward.
Yeah. So Tiana's asking, does the platform allow you to associate a sequence or set of behaviors or inputs with specific learning outcomes?
So can you say that one again? So a specific set of behaviors and actions.
Yeah, a sequence or set of behaviors or inputs with specific learning outcomes.
Yeah, I think so. So I'm not sure what's being asked, but the microsimulations are essentially can take two forms. One is free form, in where the learner can just go in and take the model apart, drop things, move things, do whatever they want, look at labels. The other step is the other way is a sequenced approach, where they have to follow a series of steps, and until they complete one step, the other step doesn't unlock, so to speak. That's more for where the procedure is important. So in that case, I think that's probably what you're looking for. So that would guide the behavior, down a certain sequence, and you can add some variation into that sequence. But yeah, I hope that answers the question.
And actually, it might be faster if you answer this one on the fly.
Sorry.
No, it's all right. What does the 3-month training look like?
Yeah, good one. So really, it can be as structured or as unstructured as you like, to be honest. We are quite flexible. There is a program. Generally, it entails something like a discovery phase where I will present you with a heap of demonstration content to go away and have a look at. And then once, because the art of what's possible is often a little bit unclear, then you do that, come back, we storyboard what your use case is, what you want to do, and I work with your team to do that. Storyboarding is not much different from what you're probably already aware of, but there's some slight tweaks for immersive learning. We go through that, and then we capture the base assets. Again, I'll guide the team through that, taking the footage or obtaining the models, and then we'll upload to Facilitate, and we create the experience out of that. That's usually the quickest part. Again, we'll talk the team through all of that. And then lastly, we look at deployment and scaling beyond that. And again, we'll help you with all of that. Yeah, that's it in a nutshell, real quick.
Yeah.
But happy to talk more about it. Just give us, just reach out and you can do a call. You retain the rights to your content you've created, even if you've decided not to renew your subscription. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the IP always belongs to you, but the subscription is required to access the content. So it's not an exportable piece like with an eLearn creator like Articulate or something like that, where you export the package and it sits forever on your LMS in perpetuity. It doesn't work like that. It does need the subscription to access the content because it sits on our service.
What is your lead time to schedule training?
We can do starter packs as soon as you like. So there's not a lot of wait time at the moment. So we can jump into that. Absolutely.
Yep. I think they're all the questions we've got.
It's the bulk of it at this stage, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah. Does anyone have any final questions you'd like us to answer? No, I think that's it. I think we've exhausted them all.
That's us. Yeah, we're right on time, aren't we, Abby? Yep.
Yeah, thank you both, Ben and Philip. This has been very, very insightful. Lots of feedback, positive feedback in the chat. So thank you so much. And thank you to all of our attendees for being so engaged and asking such great questions. And with that, I'm going to go ahead and wrap up the event for the day. Go ahead, share my screen. All right, we would like to thank all of our dynamic speakers and our sponsors, CGS Immersive, Facilitate, Interplay Learning, and SweetRush. And reminder that all of our sessions are pre-qualified for a credit hour for SHRM, HRCI, ISPI, and CPTM. And some additional resources for our learning leaders. I would love to meet you all in person in Raleigh, North Carolina for the Training Industry Conference and Expo. TICE is where learning leaders like you gather to forge new professional connections, learn from each other, and address your most pressing learning challenges. Early bird registration is now open through the end of March. Learn more at tice2025.com. And discover how to maximize the value of your learning technologies with Training Industries Managing Learning Technology Certificate. Optimize your organization's learning technology lifecycle for lasting business impact. Gain an in-depth understanding of how to select, purchase, implement, maintain, and retire learning technologies with this comprehensive course. You can learn more at trainingindustry.com/courses. One last reminder that a survey will pop open in your browser upon exiting, and we would greatly welcome your feedback. Thank you so much again, Philip and Ben, for this wonderful session, and thank you all for joining us today. Until next time, I'm Avery, and I hope you all have a great rest of your day.